Hello and welcome to the American Family Insurance Dream Bank, where we believe in the transformative power of dreams. My name is Andy Frisky. I am a senior curator here at DreamBank, and on behalf of my team, myself, so thrilled to have you all with us here. As we get started, we always like to learn where you are joining us from today and encourage you to share so in the comments section. And would love to take a few moments and share with you a little bit about DreamBank for those of you who maybe aren't familiar. So here at American Family Insurance, we believe that communities are stronger and the future is brighter when people are actively pursuing their dreams. And that's why DreamBank was created. It's an inspirational community destination and digital experience that is dedicated to dreamers everywhere. And our offerings are designed to help you celebrate the dream journey, overcome obstacles, and to stay motivated. And as this event continues on today, I'll go ahead and pop in a few pertinent links for you folks, such as where the recording will be at, as well as any sort of upcoming events that we have as well. But to kick things off, we all made the conscious choice, or you all made the conscious choice and effort to be here today. And again, that's very much appreciated. And I wanted to start today just with a brief breathing exercise, just so that we can all be our most present selves here today. So if you're able to have your camera on, I know that Arliss is going to be asking some questions and allowing you folks to come off of mute and to interact. The chat box is obviously there for you folks as well too. But again, you made the conscious effort to be here and want to make sure that you all get the most out of this session today. So to kick things off, let's go ahead and place our feet flatly on the ground. Let's sit up with a tall, straight spine. Maybe soften your gaze. Go ahead and stare right ahead. Maybe close your eyes if you're comfortable. And let's just take 2 deep breaths. So we're going to breathe in through our nose and out through our mouth. So breathe in through your nose. Hold it at the top. Out through your mouth. And one more time. In through your nose. And out through your mouth. Hopefully, let's go ahead and send those last texts, those last emails, so we're able to tune in for this next hour. Laura, I see you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being engaged. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to Arliss. So Arliss, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you so much. Today is going to be highly interactive. I'm going to be asking you to unmute and to share and to put things into the chat and raise your hand. And I'd like to start off by giving a big woohoo and celebration for DreamBank and all that they do to support our community. So let's all unmute and give a big woohoo for this presentation today. Woo! Woo! Thank you. Thank you for participating today. I'm really excited to be talking about emotional intelligence and the bottom line. Let's get going. There we go. Okay. So emotional intelligence, otherwise known as emotional quotient or EQ, is the ability to understand, use, and manage your own emotions in positive ways to relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, overcome challenges, and diffuse conflict. And one of the really great things about emotional intelligence is that it is changeable. So wherever we score today on emotional intelligence, we can do lots of different things to improve our score in emotional intelligence. And we're going to talk about ways that we can do that today. I'd love for you to put into the chat, who here has heard about emotional intelligence before and has studied it in any way at all? So if you've heard about emotional intelligence before, go ahead and put a yes in the chat for me. Paula, I see you. Suzanne, I love it. Lisa, great. Fantastic. Awesome. So let's dive in a little bit deeper. So Daniel Goleman came up with a structure for kind of understanding the different variables of emotional intelligence. And he came up with 5 different elements that indicate a person's emotional intelligence. And these can also be considered 5 different areas that we can focus on in order to grow our emotional intelligence. And those areas are self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Would anybody be willing to share which one of these you feel like, hey, I got this. I feel like I'm, I have high motivation, or I have high self-regulation. You could go ahead and unmute and share if you'd like to, or you can put it into the chat. Which one of these do you feel like you know really well? So Paula says that she's really great at self-awareness. That's awesome. Who else? I know some of you out there. Yeah, Claire says self-awareness as well. Lisa says motivation, and Sarah says empathy. That's fantastic. Awesome. Stephanie, which one are you good in?
I'm pretty high in empathy, and I've actually received feedback that way as well, though I know I can always work on it. I tend to be able to empathize with others and kind of try to meet them where they are.
Awesome. I love that. Let's give Stephanie a big woohoo for sharing today. Woo! I get asked all the time, why do I give so many woohoos? And it's because sharing is scary, and it's an act of bravery in order to do it. And so thank you so much, Stephanie, for sharing that you are high in empathy. I love that. So let's look at this list, and I'd love for you to put in the chat or share which one of these do you feel like, hey, I'd love to learn more about that, or that's an area that I can grow in today, that I could grow my skills in. So which one is standing out to you as something that you could grow your skills in today? Go ahead and put that into the chat. Claire says that she can grow in self-regulation. I love that. Stephanie says that she could grow in social skills. That's fantastic. Absolutely. Oh, I see consistent motivation from Paula. That's beautiful. Thank you. Linda says social skills. Awesome. Well, we're going to talk about ways that we can grow all of these today. And I just appreciate all of you sharing where you feel like you are in this process and where you want to go. So let's get you there. Okay, so what is the value of emotional intelligence in business? So I'm a business coach and consultant, and I help entrepreneurs really figure out how to take a soulful approach to business and be really successful while getting really good at doing the nuts and bolts of business. And so for me, emotional intelligence is a must-have in order to do business well. And we're going to dive into why that is. So as a result, untold multitudes of people studied emotional intelligence in order to better understand their own feelings and those of others, to improve awareness generally and acquire better and more reliable information. And the application of the practice extends into the business world. So emotional intelligence is something that we can use in every area of life, and it will improve every area of life when we are growing it. It is also something that really makes a difference in the business world, and it really impacts the bottom line. So who here is a business owner? Go ahead and put it into the chat, a yes if you're a business owner. I want to see the business owners we have in the room. Awesome, Paula. Welcome, welcome. Laura says she owns 2 businesses. Congratulations, Laura. That's fabulous. And who here is in a management position or is a big part of an organization and a decision maker? Nikki, I love that. Nikki, you're in management. Fabulous. So all of this is going to really impact your ability to show up in these businesses in a really profound way. Okay. So I did some research and I looked at what hiring experts in business had to say about emotional intelligence. And I thought that this was really fascinating. So they said that in a study involving 2,600 hiring managers, 71% said they value high EQ over IQ. So they value high EQ over IQ. And many of them said that they retained individuals that had higher EQ over people that had a lower EQ. And so I wanted to know why. Why was this? Well, They said that high EQ employees are better at staying calm under pressure. So I would love to know, on a scale of 1 to 10, either in your life or in your business or in your work or job, how important is it that you or the people around you stay calm under pressure? So 1 being not at all and 10 being absolutely important. Oh, look at that. The chat is filling up with 10s and 8s and 9s, and yes, absolutely. So being able to stay calm under pressure is incredibly important. When we're able to do that, we're able to show up in our businesses or in our jobs and in our lives in a greater way, which can really help us see the success that we're wanting to see. They also said that employees with higher EQs, they listen as often or more often than they speak. So who here sees listening as one of their superpowers in their work or in their life? Go ahead and raise your hand or put it into the chat. Yes, right? Like, yes, Stephanie, I see your hand. Absolutely. So when we're able to listen, Dan, thank you. Kim, thank you. So absolutely, when we're able to listen, we're able to really hear what the needs and wants of other people are. We're able to hear what the details of the projects that we're working on are, and we're able to make better decisions from that information when we're responding instead of reacting. So great job. Tanya says that when she gets nervous, she rambles a little bit. Can anybody relate to that? Go ahead and put that in the chat. One of the ways, and I used to do that too, one of the ways that I have been able to move away from that in my own life is a practice like what Andy taught us this morning, just some active deep breathing, and within my own mind, counting 1 when I breathe in and counting 2 when I breathe out. And that allows me to not feel the need to ramble as much. So I hope that helps you as well. They also said that those with high EQ lead by example, and managers always want those who are able to lead by example, right? And when we're in our own business, we have to lead by example, because guess what? We're our own CEO. We are our own boss. So leading by example can have a huge impact on the work environment that we're in. And the impact is incredibly positive. They also said that they make thoughtful business decisions. So on a scale of 1 to 10 again, how important is thoughtful business decisions in your business and life? How important is it? April says 10, Nikki says 10, Dan says 10, absolutely, right? So being able to make thoughtful business decisions is a huge deal. And emotional intelligence really allows us to be able to be more mindful and to be able to make more thoughtful business decisions. Steve says 10 too. Thank you, Steve. Sorry for that interruption. We are back. Okay, here we go. They also take criticism well and admit their mistakes and learn from them. So I want to know, raise of hands or put it in the chat. Do we have any humans in the room? Where's all the humans in the room? Where are you? Do I see some? Look at that. We have humans in the room. Oh, awesome. I have yet to ask that question in a Zoom room and have someone say, nope, I'm not human. Although that would be a great, interesting conversation. As humans, we have times where we make missteps or we make what individuals might call mistakes. I don't necessarily like that word. And it's important for us to be able to own them and to apologize for them if that's a step that is part of that process, and see how we can make it better in the future. So a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we make a misstep and we may be the only ones that know. It's still important to go through the process of saying with ourselves, hey, this was a misstep and it didn't work out exactly how I was hoping it would be. How could I do this differently in the future in a non-judgmental way? And this is really, really important, that when we're practicing emotional intelligence, we're doing it from a non-judgmental way. Laura says criticism is hard. Yeah. Who here agrees with that statement? The criticism is hard. Go ahead and put that in the chat. One thing that I think that is important to know is that feedback, right? Which I think of is like the neutral or positive form of criticism. Feedback is very helpful. And criticism, to me, when I hear criticism happening or I hear of criticism happening, what comes up for me is that the person that's doing the criticizing must be experiencing a lot of fear. So criticism is an indication of fear for me in business. And I think that when I am able to go to that place of realizing, oh, this person that is saying this is in a lot of fear, it helps me take a step back and not take it as personally, because that fear response is theirs, it's not mine. So I hope that that helps Laura and Nikki. Okay, individuals with high EQ, they also keep their emotions in check and can discuss tough, sensitive issues thoughtfully and maturely. So who here has been through a challenging time, either in work or business or in life in the last 3 years? Go ahead and raise your hand or put it into the chat. Yeah, Chloe, I see you. I see you, Stephanie. I see you, Lisa. I see you, Laura. Absolutely. So Mary, I see you too. Almost everyone has been through some form of challenging time in the last 3 years, whether it was an impact from the pandemic or it was an impact from other things as well. Nydia, I see you as well. And when we have emotional intelligence, we are able to be more thoughtful in how we respond to them. And what happens when we're able to do that? It gives us more choices in our business or our life, right? So when we're able to be more thoughtful about our response, we have more choices because we are much better able to see the different options that we have available to us. So remember that the next time when we are feeling that emotion come up, when we're in a challenging situation, remind yourself, hey, if I allow myself to be in a more thoughtful place, I have more options to choose from. Okay, they also are able to effectively resolve conflict. And this is huge, right? Because conflict happens, we're human. We already verified all of that, right? And when we have emotional intelligence, we can move through conflict in a more mindful way. Finally, they are empathetic to coworkers and react accordingly. So how important on a scale of 1 to 10 is empathy for you? Either empathy within you towards the people around you or other people empathizing with you in your environment. Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Stephanie. When we're empathetic, oh, I love that, Dan. 9.234, perfect. Thank you, Chloe, for putting that in the chat. So when we're empathetic, we're able to put ourselves in someone else's shoes or and somebody else can put themselves in our shoes. And it just allows for us to have a deeper connection when we're going through challenging things. Okay, so we've learned that business managers are higher based on emotional intelligence. They also retain based off of emotional intelligence. And that these are all the reasons why they retain and hire based off of emotional intelligence, which you can see how all of these things have an impact on the bottom line. Now, I'm going to tell you the nitty-gritty numbers details at the end of this presentation, but it's important to see how all of these things impact the bottom line. You know, if we're more thoughtful in our responses, if we're able to make better business decisions, if we're able to accept feedback and move through it, we are able to be more productive in our positions, and we're able to have better outcomes for our companies. Okay, so let's talk about the importance of self-awareness in business. So self-awareness can impact a company's finances, right? So when we are self-aware, we are able to have a positive impact on finances. And I see a question in the chat. Let me scroll back up. It says, how do we showcase these things when technology HR screening processes search for other skills based items in the resume? That's a really great question. So we show our emotional intelligence in our communication. And you can also show your emotional intelligence in the languaging that you put into your resume. And I can give more resources on that as well. But yeah, so the languaging that you use in the resume. So if you use open, positive languaging in your resume and in your cover letter, in the way that you communicate, if you communicate in a kind way, in a way that is aware of the situation that you're in and all of those things, it makes a huge difference in how you're received as far as them evaluating your emotional intelligence. Thank you for that question. Okay, so those with higher self-awareness are better performing companies, are part of better performing companies, and they tend to have more self-aware leaders. Also, the leaders make better decisions, are mindful of how their leadership impacts future outcomes for their company. And self-awareness helps leaders understand what they bring to their role. So I'm sure all of us have had that boss that is really self-aware, is able to know how they impact people around them, are mindful about how they communicate, they're aware of the situations and how to appropriately respond in those situations. Raise your hand if you've had that boss and in your past or in your current situation. Has anybody ever had that boss? Yeah, Laura, I see you. Where you just feel really comfortable with them because the way that they communicate, they have high self-awareness. Yes, Dan says I was that boss. I love that, Dan. Thank you so much. So we know what it feels like to work with somebody that's like that. Yeah, Kim says at one time and should have been more. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this workshop today, right? Is because I want leaders to be able to see this information, to be able to grow their own self-awareness. So we've seen it modeled to us before, and that means that we have kind of like a guiding light to be able to improve it within ourselves. So how do we improve it within ourselves? Self-awareness. So yes, I love that. Laura says people don't leave jobs, they leave management. That's absolutely true. I hear it all the time, especially with new entrepreneurs. Typically, they have decided to start their own business because they no longer want to work with the company that they have been working with. Absolutely. Okay, so how do we improve our self-awareness? Well, one, be curious about who you are. Get really curious about yourself. Learn more about yourself. Treat yourself as though you are a new best friend. And you know what it's like when you meet that person and you want to go out to coffee with them every week and you want to learn every detail you can. Well, guess what? You get to do that with yourself. Also, let down your walls. Be okay to show a little bit of your humanness. Our humanness is our superpower, right? So it makes us not so cookie cutter and it shows our individuality. Another way that you can increase your self-awareness is to look in the mirror literally. Okay, so I want you to look in the mirror. I want you to see what your face looks like when you're not actively trying to smile. This is something that I had to really work on because when I was younger, people would think that I was angry with them most often when I wasn't having a specific facial expression. And this was really hard for people to want to get to know me. Yes, RBF. Thank you so much, Laura. Absolutely. And I got to a place where I was able to really see what that looked like in the mirror. And then I was able to decide what I wanted to have my resting face look like and have it be more inviting to others because I did feel inviting to others. That was my truth. Another way is to keep a journal and note what positively triggers you. So typically when people keep a journal, they write in the things that negatively triggered them in their life. And when we keep a journal and note the things that positively trigger us, it's a way that we can see what that positivity is that is triggering us, and then how we can manifest or generate more of it into our lives by seeking out those same situations or similar personality types or things like that. We can also substitute some screen time with people time, which I know is a little bit challenging with the digital day, but I want you to substitute some screen times for people time. Also, I want you to ask the people around you, how do you see me? Okay. And one thing that I think that I've encountered is that for most people, they have no idea how positively the people around them see them, right? So many times we go through our lives and we don't get a lot of that positive affirmation back because we're just, we're used to being with the people that we're around and they think that they've already told us, or maybe they're too shy to tell us. So consider asking others, how do you see me? Yes, I love that. Don't save it for the funeral. Find out from your good friends and your family members how they see you and share the positive things that you see in them. Another way that we can grow our emotional intelligence is to take a third party perspective. So if you are in some kind of disagreement, consider what it might look like from the outside and use that as a way for you to cultivate your response. Okay, so the importance of self-regulation. Are there any questions on self-awareness before we go on to self-regulation? Any questions? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go on. So the importance of self-regulation. Self-regulation also includes an element of taking responsibility for your own actions and ensuring that what you do matches your personal values. So if you haven't gone through the process of discerning what your personal values are, I highly recommend that process. There are lots of resources online that can help you move through that process. So self-regulation is made up of multiple components, including self-control, trustworthiness, conscientiousness, adaptability, and innovation. So how do we increase our self-regulation? Self-regulation is controlling one's emotions, behaviors, and thoughts in the pursuit of long-term goals. More specifically, emotional self-regulation refers to the ability to manage disruptive emotions and impulses. So how do we grow our self-regulation? Well, number one, we can practice mindfulness. And Andy, again, shared with us such a gift when he had us go through that mindfulness breathing practice this morning. Just taking 2 minutes in a day to practice mindful breathing can make all the difference in how our day goes. Research shows that practicing for 2 minutes gives us all of the physiological benefits of mindfulness meditation. So I highly recommend that you put a 2-minute time in your day to practice mindful breathing. Another way that we can grow our self-regulation is through cognitive reappraisal. So changing thought patterns, specifically cognitive reappraisal, involves reinterpreting a situation in order to change your emotional response. So typically when we are looking at a situation, we are having an emotional response about it, we have put some kind of meaning on that situation, which may be erroneous. Okay, so it's important to go back and look at situations where we have strong emotional responses and see, was that meaning that we put on to the event real, or was it something that happened during a reaction in the moment? The next way that we can grow our self-regulation is to list our values. Again, such a huge activity that can make such a difference. If you know some of your personal values, please put them into the chat so that we can inspire each other with our personal values. We can also maintain open communication with ourselves and others and be flexible, remaining flexible and adapting to situations. So Tamara says that honesty is one of her personal values. I love that. Mary says integrity. Wonderful. Thank you, Mary. Okay, any questions about self-regulation before we go on to social skills? Or sorry, before we go on to motivation. Okay, wonderful. So motivation is the desire to act in service of a goal. It's the crucial element in setting and attaining our objectives. Motivation is one of the driving forces behind human behavior. It fuels competition and sparks social connection. Its absence can lead to mental illness such as depression. So when we are actively in motivation, we're able to be focused on our goals, and there are lots and lots of ways that we can increase our motivation, including we can simplify things. A lot of times we lose motivation because things are overcomplicated or we feel overwhelmed. As soon as we go into a place of overwhelm, we get to a place of non-motivation. And I'm sure everyone's experienced that at some time. Please put in the chat or raise your hand if you've ever experienced the feeling of overwhelm before in your business or in your life. Anybody? Oh, I see you, Stephanie. Yes, I see you, Paula. I see you, Laura. I see you, Nikki. Absolutely. So when we are able, thank you, Tamara, I see you. So when we're able to simplify, it's less likely that we'll go into that place of overwhelm. The other thing that we can do to increase our motivation is to focus on our accomplishments. So I'm sure there are so many things that you have accomplished. This could be either education or experience or other types of accomplishments. When we are able to see clearly what we've accomplished, we are able to stay more motivated. And a lot of times we forget what we've accomplished along the way. And that can lead to not having as much motivation. I also want you to focus on setting measurable goals. So when we have goals that we can measure the progress of, it keeps us motivated, right? Especially when we celebrate along the way on that progress. Also, shift your motivation from getting to giving. So when you're thinking about your goal, think about how you can better serve through your goal as a way of keeping motivated. Create and repeat new positive habits. Increase gratitude, boost motivation. So I would love to know from each of you, what is something you're grateful for today? It could be something you're grateful for in your business, in your job, in your life in general. What are you grateful for today? It could be just that the sun came up. Oh, Nikki says health. Cleo says the sunshine. I love that. Steve says family. Beautiful. When we're able to experience deeper gratitude, we have boost motivation. And then I'd like you to consider increasing your energy to boost your motivation. And we can do that by being mindful of what we consume, getting enough sunshine, drinking enough water, things like that. Claire says she's grateful for a flexible job. Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Claire. Okay, any questions about motivation? Any questions about motivation, increasing motivation? Okay. One of the big take-homes that I want you to take for motivation is celebrating along the way. So I want you to recognize and celebrate yourself for every step that you make towards your goal. When we do that, we're able to positively train our brain to be excited to accomplish that goal. Okay, so let's dive into empathy. The term empathy is used to describe a wide range of experiences. Emotional researchers generally define empathy as the ability to sense other people's emotions, coupled with the ability to imagine what someone else might be thinking and feeling. So when you think of empathy, what comes up for you? What comes up for you? Go ahead and put that in the chat. When you think of empathy, what comes up for you? Dan says, that's my blind spot, the celebration part. I know, right, Dan? So when we don't celebrate, though, our brain decides that what we're doing is a negative instead of a positive. And that could be a serious reason why we lose motivation. So make sure you get that celebration part in there. Okay, so empathy. Chloe says relating in whatever capacity one can. Paula says some people do it really well and some people do it really poorly. That's absolutely true. So how can we grow our empathy? Well, the first thing we can do is to talk to new people and talk to a variety of different types of people. So that have different backgrounds, have different jobs, that have different family structures, that come from different areas, that have different life experiences. The more that we can communicate with new people, the easier it's going to be for us to empathize with others. Another way is to be open to changing your mind. Okay, so be a little bit flexible in your beliefs, be a little bit flexible in your decision making. Amplify other voices. So if there are other people in your workspace or in your company that you can amplify or spotlight, take the time to do so. Number 4, be honest with yourself. So the more that we get in touch with ourselves and who we really are, and we're honest about, how we think about things in the world, the better we'll be able to empathize with others. Also, join forces for a shared cause. This is one of the reasons that I love DreamBank so much, is because they support the community in such a huge way. And 6 is try out someone else's life. So imagine yourself in a day in somebody else's life. Imagine what it would be like to wake up in their situation and go throughout their day. And it might be uncomfortable sometimes to go through this exercise, and yet it can be incredibly rewarding. So are there any questions about how we can grow our empathy before we move on to social skills? Any questions on empathy? Okay. So let's dive into social skills. Social skills are the skills we use every day to interact and communicate with others. They include verbal and nonverbal communication, such as speech, gestures, facial expressions, and body language. So how can we improve our social skills? Well, number 1, listen to people. And we talked about how important listening was. And all of you said that it was at least an 8 or above. So the more that we can listen to people and listen to hear instead of respond, the more we can have positive social skills. Also, being interested in people's stories, being willing to learn about other people. Also, do you function better in one-on-one conversations or in large groups? So go ahead and put that in the chat. Do you function better in one-on-one situations or large groups? Knowing this about ourselves can really help us hone our social skills. So yeah, look in the chat. There's a lot of people that feel like they interact better one-to-one. So when you are interacting with people, try to make the situation a one-to-one situation if possible, and then try to stretch yourself a little bit to practice interacting in groups. Don't be too negative or ironic, and don't complain all the time. I know that this is something that sounds like common sense, and yet we all have a lot going on in our lives, and sometimes it's challenging not to focus on those negatives. And the more we can focus on the positive that's going on in our lives, the better that we can have better social skills. Try to remember people's names. Remember people's stories. Don't fill every gap with talking. It's okay to take a break. It's okay for there to be a pause while you're listening to someone. And it's okay for you to say, oh, let me think about that a moment before you respond. Also, follow up. So if you say you're going to follow up with somebody and you're going to send them something, or you're going to share something with them, please follow up, and because that lets them know that you are good to your word, and it lets them know that you care about what was happening. Know when to leave, right? We don't want to overstay our welcome. And then to remember, it's all about love and connection. Okay, so we're all human. We already established that. We're all building relationships, whether they are in a work environment or in a personal environment, and we can experience different forms of love in that environment. So we can have a love of somebody in work. We can, love what they do for the company, love how they show up for their colleagues. We can love how they treat the customers or clients. And just know that when we are practicing social skills, it's all about love and connection. Okay, so I told you I was going to get down to the dollars and cents of why emotional intelligence is important and how it impacts the bottom line in business. So let's get into that. So emotional intelligence training can yield a 1,484% return on investment for organizations. 50% of employees quit due to a bad manager. So emotional intelligence training can reduce employee turnover. Emotional intelligence in executives has also been linked to higher profit earnings for companies, which is huge, right? I mean, if we all knew that going into a job, we would have an emotionally intelligent manager, we would feel so much more excited and loyal to the company. Also, high IQ helps you build relationships. It reduces team stress, it diffuses conflict, it improves job satisfaction, and ultimately, a high EQ means having a potential to increase team productivity and staff retention. So we can see by using self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, social skills, and empathy, how that would increase productivity. And finally, EQ influences everyday tasks in both personal lives and business. For leaders, executives, decision around hiring, business opportunities, challenges, sales, must all come from a place of deep awareness and understanding of others. And when businesses have that, they are definitely able to be more profitable. I also want you all to know that with each point of emotional intelligence that you increase, the financial outcome is typically $1,600 per point increase. So the more you work on your emotional intelligence, the greater the financial outcome that you're going to have for yourself. And there's lots of data around that. Yes. And so thank you so much for coming today. I hope today was helpful in learning how to grow your emotional awareness. My name is Arliss Dudley-Cash. My business name is Solutions. My website is solutions.com, which is SOULLUTIONS.com. If you want to reach out, I'm happy to give any support that I can. Thank you so much. Oh, Dan has a question. Is EQ a soft skill? So yes, it is considered a soft skill. I also call it a superpower skill because it makes such a difference. And it impacts every area of business. So emotional intelligence improves sales. It improves our ability to be organized. It improves our ability to market. So I call EQ a superpower skill in business. So thank you so much. I'm here if you have any questions. We have a couple of minutes left. And thank you so much for having me, Andy.
Thanks so much for that, Arliss. Much appreciated. And yes, we'll give it a few moments here for some questions. But I have one to kick us off here, Arliss. You know, here at DreamBank, we are a community that is built of fellow fearless dreamers, and we always like to ask our presenters, what's one piece of advice you have for someone who's actively pursuing a dream right now?
Don't give up. I'm sure you hear that all the time. Be persistent in your dream. Be resilient in your dream. And know that your dream is worthy, no matter how big or small it is. And you can do it. It may not look that way in this moment, and that's okay, because guess what? Every day is a new day and our world changes all the time.
I think that's some great sound advice that you mentioned there, you know, especially as I liken it to my own dream pursuit and some of the goals that I'd set forth, you know, for myself this year, and you know, being more disciplined across all aspects of my life. And with that, I think resiliency plays a large role. So yes, I very much appreciate that. As we kind of conclude here, I wanted to go ahead and drop in a pertinent link. It's our YouTube page. That's where the vast majority of these events live once they're done being live. So go ahead and take a peek at that. But it looks like those are all the questions that have come in at this time. So we can certainly go ahead and cap it there. Some great praise still coming through from Charles, from Dan, from Mary, Lisa. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you, Arliss, for putting together, again, such a wonderful presentation. We will go ahead and cap it there, and we will see you all next time. Take care.
Aloha.
Bye-bye.